Okay, welcome everybody to Insight on Anxiety, where we get to put everything together and create a super simple plan to reduce anxiety. And I just love this because sometimes we make this idea of a plan something really big and complicated in our minds, and then we end up getting overwhelmed by it and actually not really doing it. So my goal is to avoid all of that today and give you something that you can walk away with and implement in a way that makes sense for your life. So this is the last in the series. We have looked at the body, the mind, the body, and the heart and connection. We're going to put it all together. I am not a doctor, so please don't take any of this as medical advice. I am a holistic life coach. And before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that I live, work, and play on Dena'ina land. That's the indigenous land here in Alaska near Anchorage. Okay, so why do we need a plan to reduce anxiety or to do anything at all? Well, the thing is that we have tons of information in our lives. Like, we are already overloaded with content. And if just knowing things was enough, we would have amazing lives. We would have everything kind of figured out, right? But unfortunately, just having information does not mean that we actually make the change. So there, let me just we actually create change. So why is that? Well, because when it comes to taking an action, there's some things that have to come first. And I'll tell you a little story to illustrate this. So years ago, probably going on 9 years ago, when I first went to an acupuncturist here, one of the things that she told me would be beneficial for me would be going to bed by 10 in the morning. At the time, I was going to bed around 2, probably pretty most nights, 2 a.m. And I was like, what? No way am I going to do that. Like, that's not me. I'm a night owl. I don't do that. And so, of course, I didn't really try to do it. But the thing is that I found over time, when the idea of going to bed earlier and the reasons why, the health reasons, the mental health reasons for it, everything, it started to make it seem more interesting to me. And as I started to make shifts in my own life, taking care of myself, it started to become a little bit like, okay, can, maybe I can go to bed earlier. Well, how could I go to bed earlier? And then I started doing it. And then I started getting some feedback and liking going to bed by midnight, for example, and slowly shifting my life around so that now I actually do go to bed by 10 o'clock. And so the key to the story is that before I was taking the actions to make the change to get to that goal, in this case, it was going to bed earlier, and really as a way to reduce anxiety too, but your goal is to reduce anxiety. Then the first step is to just believe that it is not only a valuable thing, but it is something that you can do. I think so often we think that we doubt that. And then it becomes harder to take the action that we need to, and the action that we need to often evolves naturally. It arises naturally from that place of belief. So the first step in creating your plan is to determine what your story about yourself is. I am a person that can reduce her anxiety, for example. So I'm gonna, step one, your story. And this isn't necessarily something that you're gonna completely believe right now. Like, I didn't believe I was a person that could go to bed by 10 every night a few years ago, but I could see the value in it, and I could see that it was possible for me. So that And then from there, as I started experiencing the results, then I become more convinced, right? So I am a person that can feel relaxed. I am a person that can learn to feel less anxious. So I am, that's the key statement. I am learning. So that's the step one in your plan. Now, the next from these stories, then the actions start to emerge. And, that we have this idea of going for the magic pill. We want to find that one thing that's going to make all the difference. And, maybe something like that exists, but in reality, like you got to where you are in this moment today because of everything that's come before, because of each and every day, the decisions that you've made, the actions that you've taken, the things that you've thought, and they layer on day after day after day, they compound. And that they can compound in a negative way, but they can also compound in a positive way. So when we think about taking actions, we want to think about taking 1% actions, very small steps that aren't going to like totally be difficult or make us have to like confront our whole life structure and change everything up. We want to make it super easy. So we will come up with 1% actions. What does this look like? Sometimes it can be a very small decision, like when you're faced with like having a second cup of coffee, and you decide that instead of that second cup of coffee, you're going to have a cup of warm water. Super small decision, but that is a 1% decision that, say, if you did that the next day and the next day and the next day, that you would then be reducing your coffee intake and the stimulation that that has on your nervous system, which can help to reduce anxiety. So when you take these 1% steps consistently, then they really add up. Now, we've talked about 3 different areas to do this, right? We've talked about the mind, the body, and the heart, or connection. So what I would like you to do is to think about, and you can rewatch some of the videos where I talk more specifically about what each of these sections entails, but they're essentially different doorways into healing your anxiety. So this can give you some fun different ways to help to explore and see if you feel better. So think about one way that you can support your mind using the story that we talked about, using meditation, reducing sensory input, anything that not watching so much news, like improving the quality of the input. So choose one of those items. For the body, choose something that you know is going to help support the nervous system to calm down, like a real deep relaxation, going swimming, having a bath, something small like that. And then for the heart, for the connection piece, find a way that you can connect with yourself, with other people, with spirit, and put that in your plan. So let's say here in my plan, meditation, body, what I want to do is more gentle yoga. And then the heart is to talk on the phone to friends like 2 times a week. Now, with this plan, this 1% strategy, you don't need to go do these tomorrow, but you know kind of where you want to go. So meditation, maybe tomorrow I do 1 minute of meditation in the morning, and then the next day I try to do that, and the next day and the next day, and I just focus on that for a while until maybe it starts to gel. And then I move on to the gentle yoga. And you could do this one after the other, or if it makes sense to kind of have these 3 things that you play with at once. The goal is to do it your way, explore without pressure in these 1% tiny, tiny chunks and let it happen kind of naturally from this place of I am a person who takes care of themselves. I am a person dedicated to reducing anxiety for the long haul, even if it takes me 10 years. I know I'll get there, and that's okay. All right. That is a real quick look at a super simple plan based on your story and coming up with 1% easy things that you can do to feel better. Remember, consistency is key, that this work is not just about feeling better today, but in the long term. And the more you do this, the more you're going to steer yourself in the direction of feeling better for the long term. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been such a pleasure to do this series. I will have all of the videos posted in Facebook in a playlist, and I hope to get them uploaded to YouTube. If you want to talk more specifically about your case and need help planning an anxiety reduction plan and want to know what that looks like, just reach out to me. I am here to help in any way I can. All right, thanks so much for joining, everybody. Take care. See you next time.